Hi, guys. Today and tomorrow, we're going to start working on doing problems where, like, they're the whole reason why logarithms were invented, right? So, problems that don't work out nicely. So, everything that we've done so far, you've been able to do without a calculator. You've been able to, like, look at it and be like, oh, yeah, I know 2 to the third is 8. Like, the answer's 3. And so, it's been. Something that you can calculate on your own, but not all problems are like that. There are going to be problems where you won't be able to figure it out by just finding a common base, and so that's where our calculators will come in handy. So what I'd like you to do right now is take out whatever calculator you're going to be using and try these two problems on your calculator and see which one works. Now, if it gives you an answer of 0.602, and that's shorter, right? Like it's going to take up the whole calculator screen. But if it gives you that answer, then that one works. The other one is going to give you like an error or something like that. So your calculator should work in one of these two ways. Either you hit the log button and then the number 4, or there are some calculators where you have to hit the 4 first and then the log button. I do not recommend using your phone for this chapter for your calculator because I will tell you right now your phone is going to be the bottom one, and the bottom one is more difficult to use. So I call these calculators, the first one I call it forwards calculators because you type it in exactly how it looks when you're writing it on your paper. And then the second one I call a backwards calculator. And so you have to type in everything backwards of how it's written on your paper. So on your paper, you're going to write log 4, and in your calculator, you're going to type 4 log. It's going to get really confusing. And if you don't type it in the right way, you're not going to get the right answer. Your calculator only does what you ask it to do. Okay, so let's just talk about a couple different types of calculators. So your phone is a backwards calculator where you're going to have to type in the 4 first and then the log, and that's just not very user friendly. Another type of calculator where you have to type it in backwards is this calculator. And really, it's just any calculator where you can't see what you're typing. So some calculators, like this one has 2 lines on it. On the top line, you can see the entire math problem that you typed in, and then on the bottom line, it spits out the answer. This calculator only has 1 line on it. And so this calculator is a backwards calculator. And so you'll see the log button is up here. If I just type in log right now, it gives me an error. So I can't type it in the forwards way. So I would have to hit the number 4 first, and then the log button, and then it gives me the answer. Okay, that's a backwards calculator. And that is just not a very user-friendly calculator. So a better option would be a calculator that has 2 lines on it, like this one. It has the top line where you can see what you typed in, and then the bottom line where it spits out the answer. And the log button on this calculator is right underneath the second button. So you're going to hit log, then you're going to hit 4, and it's going to look exactly how you write it on your paper, and then that's going to give you the answer. So this one is a more user-friendly, easier to get the right answer calculator, okay? Now, some of the calculators have the log button just really readily available as one of the options. There is a calculator that I know a lot of students have where the log button is a little bit hidden. So that is this calculator. So if you have this calculator, the log button is a little bit hidden. It is above the PRB button, that's probability. And if you look above it on the actual calculator, it says log. So to get to the logs on this calculator, you have to hit second, PRB, and then you can see it gives you some options. And the first option is log. So right now you can either hit the number 1 or you can just hit the enter button and it'll type the word log on your calculator, and then you would hit the 4, enter, and then you get your answer. So if you have this calculator, the log button is just, it's hiding a little bit, and so you want to make sure that you know where it's hiding, okay? All right, so hopefully you guys know which type of calculator you have now, and then we're gonna use it. So the log on your calculator, and we talked about this a couple days ago, it is a log base 10. So anything that is written as a log base 10 can be typed onto your calculator to get the answer. Your calculator does not have any other logs, right? It's just a log base 10. So if we were given a problem like this, so just a reminder from yesterday, this is a question. It is asking the question, 10 to what power turns into a 6? I'm like, I don't know that. 10 to the first is 10. 10 squared is 100. And if I go in the other direction, 10 to the 0 is 1. I can't get a 6. That's weird. And so this problem is not possible by doing like common bases or anything like that. This is not something you're just gonna like figure out in your head. And so this is where the calculator comes in handy, okay? So we would type this in our calculator. If you have a forwards calculator, you just hit log 6 equals. If you have a backwards calculator, and again, your phone is a backwards calculator, you're gonna hit 6 log, and then you don't have to hit equals on a backwards calculator. It's just gonna like automatically tell you what the answer is. And the answer to this one is 0.778. So remember, what that means is 10 to the power of 0.778 is gonna give us, it's gonna be about 6 because like we rounded. And you can try that on your calculator too, right? We have an exponent button. So we hit 10 exponent 0.778 equals, close. If we had included more numbers in the exponent, it would have been closer. So, but like, what if our log isn't a base 10? Because if the only button on my calculator is for a base 10, what do I do if I don't have a base 10? So for that, we have something called the change of base formula. The change of base formula will take a log with any base and change it into a base 10, which is known as getting it calculator ready. So if I have a log with any base at all, log base b of x, I can change it into 2 logs. These logs are base 10. I know that because there's no base written on them and the 10 is invisible. And so what we do is we do the log of the number, and then we divide that by the log of whatever the base was. The log of the number divided by the log of the base. This fraction is going to be called calculator ready form. This is something you're going to need to write on your homework and on your quiz and on your test. And then after this, you would type that into your calculator and you would get a final answer. So here is a example. So this is log base 6. So this is log base 2 of 6. And remember, that is asking us 2 to what power turns into a 6. And it's not 2 to the third. It's not 2 times 3, right? 2 to the third is 8. And so I don't know. I don't know what 2 to what power becomes a 6. And since this is a log base 2, I cannot type it in my calculator. So I'm going to get calculator ready form. Calculator ready form. I'm going to do the log of 6. No base. We're going to make it a base 10, so we're not going to write the base down. And then I'm going to divide that by the log of 2. Again, we will have an answer line for calculator ready form on your quiz and your test. So make sure that you are practicing writing calculator ready form. And then after you have calculator ready form, then you're going to type it into your calculator. If you're typing into your calculator, if you have a forwards calculator, you can type it exactly how it looks on the computer screen. If you have a backwards calculator, you're going to have to hit the number and then the log. And this time, if you have a backwards calculator, it's going to be really, really important that you hit that equal sign. So if you don't hit the equal sign, it's just going to give you the answer of what the log of 2 is. It's not going to give you the answer to the entire question. So make sure you're hitting the equal sign after. If you're using a calculator like this one, it's going to put some parentheses immediately following the word log. You're going to need to close those parentheses before hitting your dividing sign. So I think the calculator automatically types in an open parentheses right here. Make sure to close that off so that you are only taking the log of 6. And you're not taking the log of 6 divided by the log of 2. So if your calculator types in its own parentheses, make sure to close it after the number. Okay, so I'll show you what that looks like on my calculator. So I have the log of 6, right? And it has the parentheses. So now I'm going to close the parentheses. It's just right here above the 9. Closing my parentheses and divided by the log of 2. Close my parentheses. Okay. And then we hit equals. And in this chapter, we're going to round everything to 3 numbers after the decimal point. Okay. So 3 numbers after the decimal point. So I got, 2.585, 2.585. If you're using this calculator, you're just going to have to keep hitting that second PRB to find your log. And again, if you're using a calculator like this, or if you're using your phone, you're going to have to type it in backwards. So you hit the number first, then the log button, divided by the number then the log, and then make sure. So right now it's telling me what the log of 2 is. That's not the final answer. So make sure to hit that equals button to get your final answer. It's going to be really important in this chapter that you are practicing using your calculator and that you're staying consistent, that you're always using the same calculator so that you know what order to type the numbers in and what order to type the buttons in, so that it gives you the correct answer. So we don't want to get the wrong answers because we are not proficient at using a calculator. Okay, so to help us out, I'm going to give you 2 more to try. So on these 2 problems, please practice writing it in calculator ready form and then practice using your calculator. All right, and then when you're ready, pause the video and we'll check and see how you did. All right, so on that first one, remember this is asking the question 5 to what power turns into a 2, and that's super weird, so we use a calculator. My calculator ready form is log 2 divided by log 5. Notice the whole fraction bar underneath the entire log. And then my final decimal answer, rounded to 3 numbers, is 0.431. On the second one, we're going to do log 9 divided by log 4, log 9 divided by log 4, and then my decimal answer is 1.585. So make sure you're doing both on your homework tonight, calculator ready and decimal, and I'll see you tomorrow.